The thick manila envelope landed on my desk with a soft thud, but its impact felt like a bomb going off in my chest. Return address, Walton and Associates, attorneys at law. My hands trembled as I tore it open, though I already knew what poison lay inside. My name is Harper, and until 6 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. Funny how life has a way of shattering those illusions. Ms. Griffin, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Your 2 o'clock is waiting. Cancel it, I snapped, then softened my tone. Cancel everything for the next hour, please. The legal document in my hands demanded additional alimony payments from my tech company's undisclosed earnings. I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound that echoed through my corner office. The same office I'd earned by working 80-hour weeks while Rory played house with my former best friend. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, Jessica's name flashed across the screen. I declined the call, but seconds later, a text appeared. Harper, please, we need to talk about this. I typed back, funny, that's what I said when I caught you in bed with my husband. The memories flooded back, walking into our bedroom after an early meeting, finding scattered clothes leading to our king-sized bed, the same bed I'd saved for months to buy when we were just starting out. My desk phone rang. Harper, it was Yusuf, my attorney. I just got the filing. Don't do anything rash. Rash, like demanding more money after sleeping with my best friend. I mean it. Don't post anything online. Don't contact either of them. Let me handle this. I glanced at the framed photo on my desk. Me at 13, standing proudly next to my father's tractor. Dad had always said success was sweeter when you earned it yourself. Well, I'd earned every penny of Grid Tech's success, starting from those early days coding in our farmhouse kitchen. Harper, Yusuf's voice pulled me back. Are you listening? I hear you. No contact. But Yusuf, I want to fight this, hard. I thought you might say that. Come by my office tomorrow at 9. And Harper, try to get some sleep. Sleep? I almost laughed again. Instead, I pulled up Grid Tech's latest financial reports. If Rory wanted to play dirty, he'd learn just how much that farm girl had learned about protecting what was hers. My sister Fatima's call came just as I was heading home. I saw Jessica at the grocery store, she said without preamble. She looked smug. Did she say anything? Just that you should be reasonable. Want me to come over? I hesitated at my car, watching the sunset paint Seattle's skyline in shades of orange and pink. Actually, yes, bring wine. An hour later, Fatima sat cross-legged on my living room floor, pouring generous glasses of Cabernet. Remember when we used to dream about living in the city? She asked. Yeah, in between mucking stalls and fixing fence posts. I took a long sip. Did you ever think we'd end up here? You, always. You were the smart one. Smart enough to marry a cheater. Fatima's face darkened. Don't. You built a multi-million-dollar company from nothing. He's just trying to grab what he can. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Jessica. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Rory says he's willing to negotiate. Negotiate what? I muttered. How much of my company he gets to steal. Fatima grabbed my phone and read the message. Block them both, she said firmly. Let the lawyers handle it. I nodded, but my mind was already racing ahead. There was something off about this whole thing. Rory had never shown much interest in Grid Tech's finances before. Why now? I can see those wheels turning, Fatima warned. Whatever you're planning. I'm not planning anything, I lied, already making a mental list of people to call. I'm just going to defend what's mine. Harper, did you know, I interrupted, that when I started Grid Tech, Rory told me I was wasting my time? Said I should focus on realistic goals. Now he wants a bigger piece of my unrealistic success. Fatima topped off our glasses, then make him regret it. I smiled for the first time that day. Oh, I intend to. I raised my glass. To karma. To karma, Fatima echoed, but her eyes were worried. Later that night, after Fatima left, I sat at my home office computer, staring at an old email thread between Rory and our company's former accountant. Something about the numbers didn't add up. I'd been too busy with the divorce to notice before, but now, my phone lit up with one final text from Jessica. "You really should take this deal, Harper, before things get messy." I screenshot the message, then blocked both their numbers. Messy? They had no idea what messy could be. Not yet. But they were about to find out. Yusuf's office always reminded me of an old library, all dark wood and leather-bound books. But today, even its usual calm couldn't settle my nerves. "You look like you haven't slept," he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. I found something interesting instead. I pulled out my laptop and turned it to face him. "Look at these email exchanges between Rory and our old accountant." Yusuf leaned forward, adjusting his reading glasses. His expression shifted from professional interest to sharp concern. "These transfers, they're irregular." "Exactly. And look at the dates. They all correspond with our biggest contract signings." He sat back, removing his glasses. "Harper, if what you're suggesting is true." "It's true. I spent all night tracking the patterns. Rory was skimming money during our marriage, moving it somewhere. I just don't know where yet." The door opened, and Fatima burst in, still wearing her hospital scrubs. "Sorry I'm late. Emergency surgery ran long." "You didn't have to come," I said, but I was glad she had. "Of course I did. Someone needs to keep you from going full scorched earth." She dropped into the chair beside me. "What did I miss?" Yusuf cleared his throat. "Your sister may have uncovered evidence of financial misconduct." "May have." I pulled up another document. "Here's an email from Rory to someone named Marcus in the Cayman Islands, dated 3 weeks before he left me." Fatima leaned in. "Holy shit." "Language," I teased, falling into our old pattern. "Oh, please. You said worse when you found out about Jessica." Yusuf interrupted our banter. "This is serious. If Rory was hiding money during your marriage, it changes everything about his alimony claim." My phone buzzed, a news alert from TechWire. I felt my stomach drop as I read the headline. "GridTech CEO faces financial investigation amid divorce drama." "That's impossible," I breathed. "The filing was just yesterday." Fatima grabbed my phone. "Someone leaked it to the press." "Aurora Russell," Yusuf said, naming the reporter. "She's been trying to get dirt on GridTech for months." I stood up, pacing. "This isn't about dirt on GridTech. This is about me. Rory's trying to tank our stock price." "Sit down," Fatima ordered. "You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly. He wants to devalue the company before the court looks at its worth." I turned to Yusuf. "Can we subpoena his banking records?" "We can try, but—" My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered on speaker. "Harper," Jessica's voice filled the room. "We need to talk." Fatima started to speak, but I held up a hand. "About what, Jessica?" "About how you and Rory leaked this to the press." "It's not what you think?" "There's something you need to know. Save it for court." I hung up. Yusuf leaned forward. "Harper, don't let anger cloud your judgment. We need to be strategic." "I am being strategic." "Rory thinks he can pressure me into a settlement by threatening my company's reputation. He forgets who built that reputation in the first place." Fatima touched my arm. "Sis, you're shaking." I hadn't noticed, but she was right. I took a deep breath. "Remember when Dad lost the South Field to that flash flood? Everyone said he should sell the farm, but he just worked harder." "This isn't the farm," Fatima said gently. "No, it's worse. This is my life's work." I turned to Yusuf. "What's our next move?" He was already typing on his computer. "I'm filing for an emergency hearing. But Harper, we need solid proof about these transfers." "I might have something," I said, pulling up another email. "Rory's former assistant reached out to me last night. She wants to meet." "It could be a trap," Fatima warned. "Or it could be exactly what we need." I checked the time. "She's waiting at the coffee shop down the street." Yusuf stood. "I'm coming with you." "No," I said. "She'll only talk to me alone. But I'll record everything." Fatima grabbed my hand. "Be careful. Rory's already shown he'll play dirty." I squeezed her hand back. "That's his mistake. He thinks I'm still the same farm girl who was too trusting for her own good. You're not, she said softly. No, I agreed, gathering my things. I'm not. At the door, I turned back. Yusuf, be ready to move fast if this pans out. And Fatima, I managed a small smile. Thanks for having my back. Always, she said. Just don't lose yourself in this fight. I nodded, but as I walked to the coffee shop, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was already changing. The question was, would it be for better or worse? The coffee shop loomed ahead, and through the window, I could see Rory's former assistant waiting. She was clutching a thick manila envelope, the same kind that had started this whole mess. Time to find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The coffee shop's bell chimed as I entered, and Sarah, Rory's former assistant, jumped slightly in her seat. Her fingers tightened around the manila envelope. Thanks for meeting me, I said, sliding into the booth across from her. I shouldn't be here. Her eyes darted to the door. If Rory finds out, he won't. I ordered 2 coffees, then activated the voice recorder on my phone. Tell me what you know. Sarah pushed the envelope across the table. It started small, wire transfers to offshore accounts, usually after big contracts. Then last year something changed. What happened? Jessica happened. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. She was helping him move larger amounts. They thought I didn't notice, but I kept copies of everything. The barista delivered our coffees. I waited until she left before opening the envelope. Inside were bank statements, emails, and photographs, including one of Rory and Jessica at what looked like a bank in the Cayman Islands. When was this taken? 3 months before he left you. They said it was a business trip, but Sarah's phone buzzed. The color drained from her face. It's him. I have to go. Wait. But she was already rushing out the door, leaving her coffee untouched. I quickly photographed every document with my phone, then called Yusuf. Get back here now, he said when I described the contents. And Harper, watch your back. I was gathering the documents when a shadow fell across the table. Jessica stood there, looking expensive in designer clothes that probably cost more than my first car. We need to talk, she said, sliding into Sarah's vacant seat. Nothing to talk about. Sarah's lying. Those documents are fake. I laughed. Funny how you know what documents I have, when Sarah just gave them to me 5 minutes ago. Jessica's perfectly made-up face tightened. You're making a mistake. No, my mistake was trusting you, both of you. I stood up, clutching the envelope. See you in court. Harper, wait. Her voice cracked. It's not what you think. Rory, he has something on me, something that could ruin everything. Like sleeping with your best friend's husband, didn't already do that. This is different. The coffee shop door burst open. Aurora Russell, the tech journalist, strode in with her phone raised. Harper, care to comment on the allegations of financial misconduct at Grid Tech? Jessica vanished while I was blinded by camera flashes. Other patrons started recording with their phones. No comment, I said, pushing past Aurora. Sources say you're hiding millions in undeclared assets, she called after me. Is that why your ex-husband is suing? I spun around. You want a story, Aurora? Ask Rory about his offshore accounts. Ask him about his trips to the Cayman Islands with my former best friend. Her eyes widened. Are you saying? I'm saying check your sources. I walked out, heart pounding. My phone rang. Fatima. Turn on TechWire News, now. I ducked into my car and pulled up the live stream. Aurora was already reporting. Breaking news. Grid Tech CEO Harper Griffin alleges financial misconduct by ex-husband. What did you do? Fatima demanded. Change the narrative. By starting a media war? Harper. I have proof, Fatima. Real proof. I started driving toward Yusuf's office. Sarah gave me everything. Who else knows about these documents? Just us, Sarah, and, I cursed. Jessica saw me with them. Get somewhere safe, now. I'm almost at Yusuf's. A black SUV swerved into my lane, cutting me off. I slammed on the brakes. Harper, what's happening? Fatima's voice was sharp with concern. The SUV's door opened. Rory stepped out. "I have to go," I told Fatima, ending the call. Rory approached my car, looking every bit the successful businessman in his tailored suit. "We need to talk. About your hidden accounts? Or about threatening your former assistant? About you dropping this lawsuit and keeping quiet?" He leaned against my car door. "Before things get ugly." Too late for that. I held up my phone, showing him the TechWire headline. "Seems like the truth is already out there." His confident smile faltered. "You have no idea what you're doing." "Actually, I do. I'm finishing what you started." I revved my engine. "Now get away from my car before I run over your overpriced shoes." He stepped back, but his eyes were cold. "You'll regret this." "No," I said, pulling away. "I won't." In my rearview mirror, I watched him pull out his phone, probably calling Jessica or his lawyers. Let him. The documents in my passenger seat would change everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Yusuf. "Don't come to the office. Meet at your sister's place. Bring everything." Something in his tone made me press the accelerator harder. The game had changed, and now everyone knew it. The war was officially on. Fatima's apartment was a safe haven of organized chaos. Medical textbooks stacked on coffee tables, half-empty coffee mugs everywhere. Yusuf sat at her kitchen counter, spreading out Sarah's documents, while my sister paced. "This is bigger than we thought," Yusuf said, pointing to a series of transactions. "These aren't just hidden accounts. This looks like money laundering." I finished. "Through my company." Fatima stopped pacing. "Can they trace it back to you?" "No, but that's probably what Rory was counting on. If this got out, GridTech would take the fall, not him." A sharp knock at the door made us all freeze. Fatima checked the security camera feed on her phone. "It's Sarah." She looked worse than at the coffee shop. Mascara smeared, hands shaking. "They broke into my apartment," she said as we ushered her inside. "Who did?" "I don't know, but they took my laptop, my external drives." She collapsed onto Fatima's couch. "Everything's gone." "Not everything." I gestured to the documents spread across the counter. "We have these." "You don't understand." Sarah's voice cracked. "There's more, so much more." Rory, he wasn't just hiding money. He was moving it for other people, powerful people. Yusuf straightened. "What kinds of people?" Before Sarah could answer, my phone rang. The caller ID showed GridTech's board chairman. "Harper speaking. The board is calling an emergency meeting," he said without preamble. "Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp." "On what grounds?" "The allegations in the press. The stock's down 12% already. We need damage control." I ended the call and looked at Yusuf. "They're trying to push me out." "They can't," Fatima protested. "You founded the company." "They can if they think I'm a liability." I turned to Sarah. "I need everything you know, now." She took a deep breath. "It started 2 years ago. Rory met some investors through Jessica. She was handling their art acquisitions. They needed a way to move money quietly." "Through GridTech," Yusuf said. Sarah nodded. "They'd write contracts for consulting services that never happened. The money would go through GridTech, then get redirected offshore. That's why he wants more alimony," I realized. "He's still working for them, and they need a new pipeline." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Back off, or the board sees everything." I showed it to Yusuf. "Can they really have anything on me?" "They don't need to. Just the suggestion of impropriety could be enough to—" A crash from outside made Sarah scream. Fatima ran to the window. "Someone's in the parking lot. They're breaking into your car, Harper." "Call the police," Yusuf ordered, already gathering the documents. I grabbed my phone to record. But by the time we reached the parking lot, the perpetrators were gone. My car's windows were smashed, the interior ransacked. "They were looking for the documents," Sarah whispered. A police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing. While Fatima talked to the officers, I noticed something on my windshield, a photograph of me and Rory from our wedding day, torn in half and stabbed through with a pen. "That's it." I turned to Yusuf. "I'm done playing defense. Harper. No, they want to threaten me. Fine. But I'm taking this to the FBI. Sarah grabbed my arm. You can't. These people, they'll what? Destroy my company? Ruin my life? Too late. I pulled out my phone. I still have one card left to play. I dialed Aurora's number. She answered on the first ring. I have a story for you, I said. But this time, we do it my way. I'm listening. Meet me at the Capitol Grill in 1 hour. Bring your camera. Fatima touched my shoulder. Are you sure about this? I looked at my destroyed car, at Sarah's terrified face, at the torn wedding photo. Yes, if they want a war, I'll give them one. Then you're not doing it alone, Fatima said. I'm coming with you. So am I, Sarah added, straightening her shoulders. Yusuf sighed. I'll call in some favors at the federal prosecutor's office. But Harper, he held my gaze. Once we do this, there's no going back. Good. I picked up the torn photo. Because I'm done looking back. We piled into Fatima's car, leaving the police to finish their report. As we drove toward the restaurant, my phone lit up with another text from Jessica. Please don't do this. You don't know what they're capable of. I typed back 4 words. Neither do they. Watch me. The city lights blurred past as we drove, and I felt a strange calm settle over me. Tomorrow, everything would change. The board meeting, Aurora's story, the federal investigation. It would all explode at once. But for the first time since this started, I wasn't afraid. They thought they could bury me. They forgot I grew up on a farm, and farm girls know how to dig. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when we arrived. Aurora's story had broken that morning, right before the board meeting. The timing couldn't have been better. Ms. Griffin, they called out. Any comment on the federal investigation into your ex-husband's activities? Yusuf guided me through the crowd. No comments, he repeated firmly. Inside, Rory and Jessica waited with their legal team. Rory's usual smugness had been replaced by something darker. Jessica wouldn't meet my eyes. Last chance to settle, Rory's lawyer said as we passed. Yusuf didn't even slow down. We'll see you inside. The courtroom was packed. I spotted Fatima in the gallery, sitting next to Sarah, who looked pale but determined. Judge Delilah's reputation for no-nonsense efficiency was legendary, and she lived up to it the moment she entered. Let's skip the theatrics, she said, settling into her chair. Mr. Walton, you're seeking additional alimony based on alleged hidden assets. Ms. Griffin, you've filed a counterclaim alleging financial misconduct. Let's start there. Rory's lawyer stood. Your Honor, these allegations are baseless attempts to… Actually, Yusuf interrupted, approaching the bench with a thick folder. We have documentation, extensive documentation. I watched Rory's face as Yusuf presented the evidence. His jaw clenched tighter with each page the judge reviewed. These transactions, Judge Delilah said, appear highly irregular. They were legitimate business dealings, Rory's lawyer protested. With shell companies in the Cayman Islands? Yusuf pulled out another document. Perhaps Mr. Walton would like to explain this photo of him at Cayman National Bank. Jessica made a small sound, half gasp, half sob. Rory shot her a warning look. Your Honor, I said, standing. I'd like to call Jessica Wise to the stand. Rory's lawyer jumped up. Objection. Ms. Wise isn't… Overruled, Judge Delilah said. Ms. Wise, please take the stand. Jessica walked to the witness box like she was heading to her execution. After she was sworn in, I approached. Jessica, how long have you been helping Rory move money through offshore accounts? Objection, Rory's lawyer shouted. Your Honor, Yusuf said smoothly. Ms. Wise's art gallery was used to facilitate these transactions. She's a material witness. Judge Delilah nodded. Proceed. I turned back to Jessica. Answer the question. She glanced at Rory, then back at me. Something shifted in her expression. 2 years, she said quietly, since we met at the gallery opening. And did you know these transactions were illegal? Not at first, her voice strengthened. Rory said it was just tax optimization. But then what? Then he told me what would happen if I ever talked. She looked directly at Rory. He said he'd make sure I lost everything, just like he planned to do to you. The courtroom erupted. Judge Delilah banged her gavel. Order, you bitch, Rory snarled, standing. After everything I did for you. Mr. Walton, Judge Delilah's voice cracked like a whip. Sit down, or I'll have you removed. Yusuf approached with more documents. Your Honor, we have evidence that Mr. Walton used these illegal transactions to hide assets during his marriage to my client. Furthermore, the FBI has opened an investigation. The courtroom doors burst open. Two men in dark suits entered, showing federal badges. Perfect timing, I muttered. Mr. Walton, one agent announced, you're under arrest for money laundering and tax evasion. Chaos erupted. Rory tried to run, but was quickly caught. Jessica started crying. Reporters outside pressed against the courtroom windows, cameras flashing. Your Honor, Yusuf said calmly over the commotion. Given these developments, we move to dismiss Mr. Walton's alimony claim. Judge Delilah was already writing. Granted, and Ms. Griffin. She looked at me over her glasses. I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all accounts involved. Your cooperation would be appreciated. Of course, Your Honor. As the federal agents led Rory away, he twisted toward me. You've ruined everything. No, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. You did that yourself. Outside, the media frenzy had doubled. Fatima appeared at my side, gripping my hand. You did it. We did it, I corrected, watching Jessica being escorted to another room for questioning. Aurora pushed through the crowd. Harper, what happens to Grid Tech now? I thought about the board meeting earlier that morning, how their faces had changed when I presented the evidence clearing the company of involvement. Grid Tech will be fine, I said. We've always believed in transparency and accountability. Today proved why. Yusuf touched my elbow. The FBI wants to talk to us. I nodded, then turned back to the reporters. No more questions. The truth speaks for itself. As we walked away, I heard Fatima talking to Aurora. You want the real story. My sister didn't just fight for justice. She fought for every person who's ever been betrayed by someone they trusted. She wasn't wrong. But watching Rory being driven away in federal custody, I realized this victory felt different than I'd imagined. It felt like freedom. The FBI's Seattle field office felt sterile and cold. I'd been here for 3 hours, going through transaction records with 2 agents while Yusuf took notes. And these wire transfers, Agent Martinez said, pointing to a spreadsheet, they all went through your company's accounts. Without my knowledge, I clarified. Rory had authorization as CFO, but a knock interrupted us. Agent Torres stepped in. Ms. Griffin, someone's here to see you, says it's urgent. Jessica stood in the hallway, looking nothing like the polished socialite I'd known. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smeared. 5 minutes, she said. Please. I glanced at Yusuf, who nodded. We moved to a small conference room, where Jessica immediately broke down. I never wanted any of this, she sobbed. Rory, he wasn't who we thought he was. Really, when did you figure that out? Before or after you slept with him? You don't understand. He threatened me, said he'd expose everything about my gallery. The fake provenance documents, the inflated appraisals. I sat back. Your art deals were fraudulent. Some of them. Rich clients needed to move money, justify expenses. Rory said he could help. Through Grid Tech. She wiped her eyes. When I realized what was really happening, it was too late. So you decided to help him target me instead. He said he'd destroy me if I didn't. She pulled out her phone, showing me texts from Rory. Threats, explicit and brutal. I was scared. We were best friends, Jessica, since college. You could have told me. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. The FBI offered me a deal. I'm going to tell them everything. The door opened. Fatima burst in, face flushed with anger. What is she doing here? Fatima, wait. No, my sister slammed her hands on the table. Do you know what you did to her? Do you know she couldn't sleep for months that she questioned every decision she ever made. Jessica shrank back. I never meant, get out. Fatima snarled. Go make your deal with the FBI, but stay away from my sister. After Jessica fled, Fatima turned to me. Why were you even talking to her? Because I needed to understand. Understand what? How to betray someone who trusted you. No. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. How someone I thought I knew could become a complete stranger. Agent Martinez appeared in the doorway. Ms. Griffin? We need to discuss the offshore accounts. Back in the interview room, they showed me more documents, complex webs of transactions, all carefully hidden within GridTech's legitimate business. Your company's stock is stabilizing, Agent Torres mentioned. The market seems to believe your story. The market believes in truth, I said. So do I. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Turn on the news, now. Yusuf pulled it up on his tablet. Rory's face filled the screen, standing outside the federal courthouse in handcuffs. My wife is trying to destroy me, he was saying. She's the one who orchestrated everything. I have proof. The feed cut off. Agent Martinez closed her laptop. He's desperate. They always try to blame someone else when they're caught. Will anyone believe him? I asked Yusuf. With the evidence we have, no. But Harper, he hesitated. There will be a trial. You'll have to testify. Good. I gathered my things. I want to look him in the eye when his lies fall apart. Outside, the Seattle rain had finally stopped. Fatima waited by her car. You okay? She asked as we drove home. I don't know. I watched the city lights blur past. I thought exposing him would feel better. But now I just feel tired. I turned to her. When did you know about them? She gripped the steering wheel tighter. I suspected something was wrong when Jessica stopped coming to our Sunday brunches. Then I saw them together at that cafe on First Avenue. They didn't see me, but the way they looked at each other, I should have told you. It wouldn't have changed anything. Maybe not, but you wouldn't have felt so alone. We pulled up to my building. Security had been increased after the car incident, and a guard nodded as we passed. Stay with me tonight? I asked Fatima. Of course, she smiled. I'll even make Dad's famous pancakes in the morning. Inside my apartment, I found a small package by the door. No return address. Don't open it, Fatima warned. But I already had. Inside was a USB drive and a note in Jessica's handwriting. The whole truth. Do with it what you want. I handed it to Fatima. Take it to the FBI tomorrow. You don't want to look at it first? No. I walked to the window, looking out at the city I'd fought so hard to succeed in. I'm done living in the past. But as Fatima ordered takeout and we settled in for the night, I couldn't help wondering what other secrets that drive might contain, and whether I was really ready for the whole truth. The courtroom fell silent as I took the witness stand. 3 months had passed since the FBI arrests, and now everything hinged on my testimony. Rory sat with his defense team, wearing an ill-fitting suit that made him look smaller somehow. Please state your name for the record, the prosecutor said. Harper Griffin, and your relationship to the defendant. He's my ex-husband and former CFO of GridTech. When did you first become aware of the financial irregularities at your company? Before I could answer, the courtroom doors burst open. Jessica rushed in, followed by federal agents. Her lawyer hurried to the judge's bench, passing up a document. The judge read it quickly. Counsel, approach. While the lawyers huddled with the judge, I watched Rory's face. He was staring at Jessica with pure hatred. She wouldn't look at him. Your Honor, Jessica's lawyer announced, my client has agreed to testify about Mr. Walton's entire operation, including names of all involved parties. Rory jumped up. She's lying. Sit down, Mr. Walton, the judge ordered. Jessica was sworn in. Her hands shook as she gripped the witness stand. Ms. Wise, the prosecutor began. Please tell us about the art gallery scheme. It started as a legitimate business, she said. But Rory approached me about using it to help certain clients move money. He said it was just creative accounting. And when did you realize it wasn't? When he showed me the offshore accounts. Her voice cracked. He said if I ever told anyone, he'd make sure I went down first. Then he made me help him target Harper. Rory's lawyer stood. Objection. This testimony wasn't overruled, the judge said. Continue, Ms. Wise. Jessica pulled out her phone. I recorded our conversations, all of them. The color drained from Rory's face. For the next hour, the courtroom listened to recording after recording. Rory threatening Jessica. Rory planning to frame me. Rory bragging about how he'd hidden millions. You stupid bitch, Rory suddenly shouted, lunging toward Jessica. Federal marshals grabbed him as chaos erupted. Order, the judge banged her gavel. Remove the defendant. As they dragged Rory out, he locked eyes with me. This isn't over. Actually, I said clearly. It is. During the recess, Fatima found me in the hallway. You okay? Better than okay. I showed her my phone. Grid Tech's stock was up 15% on news of Jessica's testimony. Yusuf appeared with coffee. The prosecutor wants to make a deal. With Jessica's evidence, Rory's looking at serious time. Good. I watched Jessica talking to the FBI across the hall. Did you know she was recording everything? No, but it explains why she sent you that USB drive. The prosecutor approached us. Ms. Griffin, Rory's lawyer says he wants to talk. I found Rory in a conference room, handcuffed and guarded. He'd lost weight in custody. Come to gloat? He asked. No, I came to understand why. Why what? Why I cheated. Why I stole. Or why I married you in the first place. All of it. He laughed bitterly. You want the truth? I married you because I saw potential. The brilliant farm girl who'd do anything to prove herself. I knew you'd succeed. I just didn't expect you to be so righteous about it. So you decided to steal from me instead. I decided to take what I deserved. He leaned forward. You think you're better than me? You're just lucky. Right place. Right time. No, I said, standing. I worked for everything I have. You just took what wasn't yours. And now, he rattled his handcuffs. Was revenge everything you hoped for? This isn't revenge, Rory. It's justice. Back in the courtroom, the judge returned with her ruling. Jessica's testimony had sealed Rory's fate. Given the overwhelming evidence, Judge Delilah announced, this court finds the defendant guilty on all counts. The sentence came down hard. 15 years, no possibility of early parole. As they led Rory away, Jessica approached me. I know it doesn't fix anything, she said, but I hope the recordings helped. They did. I studied her face, the face I'd once trusted completely. Why did you really record him? Because the day he made me help destroy you, I realized he'd destroy me too eventually. She smiled sadly. You were always the strong one. Ms. Griffin? Agent Martinez called from the doorway. We need your final statement. I turned away from Jessica without another word. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, only understood. Outside, reporters waited with cameras and questions. Fatima took my hand. Ready? She asked. I looked at the courthouse steps where this had all started months ago. Ready? The cameras flashed as we emerged. But this time, I wasn't running from them. This time, I had nothing to hide. And neither did anyone else. The autumn wind carried the scent of hay and fresh earth. As I walked through our old family farm, Dad's tractor still sat in the barn, now restored and gleaming. Fatima was already there, setting up tables for the Grid Tech Foundation's first Rural Tech Education Initiative. The kids from the high school will be here soon, she said, arranging laptops. Nervous? About teaching coding to farm kids. Please, I smiled. I was one of them. My phone buzzed. A news alert about Rory's case. The investigation had expanded, uncovering a network of financial fraud that reached into several major corporations. The FBI had frozen millions in offshore accounts. Still following the case? Fatima asked. Last time. They're redistributing the recovered funds to the victims. And Jessica. Witness protection apparently. I put my phone away. It doesn't matter anymore. A line of school buses appeared on the dirt road. Fatima squeezed my hand. Ready to change some lives? The students filed into the barn. 30 teenagers with a mix of curiosity and skepticism on their faces. I recognized that look. I'd worn it myself once. "Welcome to Code the Future," I said. "I'm Harper, and this isn't your typical coding class." A girl in the front row raised her hand. "Aren't you the CEO who took down that money laundering ring?" "That's part of my story, but today isn't about that. It's about yours." I opened a laptop. Who here thinks tech careers are only for city kids? Most hands went up. I thought that too, once. Right here, in this barn. I believed success meant leaving everything behind. I gestured around. I was wrong. The doors opened again. Sarah walked in, carrying more equipment. After testifying against Rory, she'd joined GridTech's education initiative. "Your background isn't your limitation," I continued. "It's your strength." I learned that the hard way. "By catching your ex-husband?" another student asked. "By remembering who I was." I pulled up the coding interface. "Now, who wants to learn how to build something amazing?" For the next 2 hours, we taught basic programming concepts. The students' enthusiasm was infectious. Even the most reluctant ones were soon creating simple programs. During a break, Yusuf arrived with news. The board approved everything. The foundation's fully funded for 5 years. Good. I watched the students excitedly sharing their work. They deserve the same chance I had. "Speaking of chances," he said carefully, "Aurora's article about the foundation just went live. Jessica reached out through her lawyer. She wants to contribute her settlement money." "No," I turned to him. "This isn't about redemption. It's about creation." A commotion from the students drew our attention. One girl had programmed a simple animation, a tractor moving across the screen. "That's not in the lesson plan," Sarah said, impressed. "Sometimes the best innovations come from breaking the rules," I replied. The afternoon sun streamed through the barn windows, casting long shadows. As the students packed up, many lingered to ask questions about tech careers, college programs, internships. "Will you come back?" the girl with the tractor animation asked. "Every week," I promised. "This is just the beginning." After the buses left, Fatima and I walked to our old favorite spot, a hill overlooking the farm. "Dad would be proud," she said. "Not just of the foundation, of you." "For what? Winning the lawsuit? Taking down Rory?" "For not letting it change you." She gestured at the barn. "You could have stayed angry, focused on revenge. Instead, you're building something." My phone buzzed one last time. An email from the FBI. They'd found the last of Rory's hidden accounts. The case was officially closed. I deleted the email without reading it. "You know what I realized," I said, watching the sunset paint the fields gold. "Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right." Deep thoughts from the farm girl turned tech mogul. Fatima teased. "Hey, farm girls are smart. We know something city folks don't." "What's that?" "Growth takes time, and the strongest roots grow in difficult soil." Sarah called from the barn. The next group of students, adults this time, was arriving for the evening class. "Back to work?" Fatima asked. I looked at the farm, at the barn, now filled with technology, at the future unfolding in the most unexpected place. "No," I said. "Back to building." We walked down the hill together, toward the lights and voices, toward something new, growing from something old. The past hadn't just made me stronger, it had shown me my purpose. Sometimes you have to go back to where you started to find where you're meant to go. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's creation.